Hello, good day and welcome. My name is Dr. Lee Willett and I'm a member of the Naval team at IHS James. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this online intelligence briefing looking at key developments in frigate programs around the world. The IHS James Intelligence Briefing Programme will consist of approximately 40 events during 2017 and is available to all customers of James Intelligence Centre and Module products, including the market forecast products. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to look at the evolving role of the frigate and key case studies in terms of programme development from around the world. Our speakers for this afternoon are Alex Pape, Principal Analyst for Naval Ships and Sonars on the IHS Markets Forecast team, Michele Capoletto, Naval Analyst on the Market Forecast team, Anika Torreya, America's Naval Reporter from the IHS James Editorial team, and Rob Levine, Senior Radar Analyst for the IHS Markets Forecast team. Before I hand over to Alex, here are a few points from me, just generally about the way frigate developments are going around the world. Okay, I think around the world it's fair to say that since 2000 we've seen an increased use in naval forces and operations. But arguably from the 2000 to 2012 period, most of those forces, especially in terms of surface ships, were generally used for lower intensity operations, for example, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, counter-piracy operations, trafficking, wider maritime security. And there on the right we have a picture of a German frigate Hamburg conducting counter-piracy patrols in the Gulf of Aden. Since 2012, though, I would argue, there's been a much greater focus on higher-end activity, especially in Europe and the Asia-Pacific region. However, set against this, over this time frame from 2000, has been a big reduction in force levels, especially in the West and especially in surface ships. So I think what we're doing today, what we're seeing today, beg your pardon, is a wider use of less numbers of ships, and therefore what we've seen in procurement programs starting to come through is more focus on multi-purpose platforms. Next slide, please.
I'll provide a quick snapshot, an overview of where we are in terms of frigate numbers as part of the global surface combatant forces, and what's going on over the next 10 years in terms of programs. So I'll be looking at trends in various regions and highlighting a few of the key programs that are going on at the moment. What you're seeing here is taken from James Fighting Ships and looks at surface combatant inventories around the world. Definition of surface combatant going from anything from corvettes up to cruisers at the moment. So you can see considerable numbers there, but if we just highlight the frigates, we have a very considerable contribution to the overall fleets around the world being made up by frigates. 432 is the current count according to Fighting Ships, including China is one of the largest operators, and obviously a few key programs going on around the world to replace them. So just as a total, frigates have a key role to play as a major unit for many navies around the world. Some navies have larger combatants above that, for example, the United States and Russia. But let's have a look at what's going on over the next decade.
So, continuing on the regional tour that Alex has just started for us, we can see that frigates or frigate-like ships are indeed very desirable platforms also for many navies in Asia. If we move on to North Asia, indeed, we can start by looking at some of the most interesting programs in the region. We have already mentioned that China, for instance, as of 2017, is the country with the largest fleet of frigates reported to be in service. This is estimated to continue also over the next decade, since China has demonstrated naval ambitions, at least in line with maintaining, or perhaps even increasing the size of its fleet of frigates, and has both the financial and industrial capacity to pursue these ambitions. With regards to the specific class being acquired, series production of the type 054A Jiangkai II is expected to continue, both at Huangpu and Hudong shipyards, where production is currently ongoing. So, 23 of these multi-purpose frigates are currently in service, we've said, and conservative estimates suggest that 7 more units could be acquired by around 2020. The chart also shows that the total investment by 2026 is projected to be in excess of some $10 billion, which is quite a considerable figure, of course. So if we now select the units production for China, we can see that further design modifications may be introduced in the 2020s, which is what we currently call the Type 05X, as a general name being given to this expected design. So that said, the production rate of around 3 ships per year is expected to be maintained for China in order to replace the remaining units of the aging Jianghu class frigates. Now, if we move on to South Korea,
I'll be giving an update on the current U.S. small surface combatants, that is the Littoral Combat Ship, or LCS, and the Future Frigate. These are a relatively recent focus for the U.S. Navy. Traditionally, the U.S. Navy is focused more on large surface combatants and has often relied on cooperation with allied frigates and corvettes in combined or joint operations. However, the current distributed lethality message from U.S. Navy leadership aims to bring in disaggregation or wider disbursement of the fleet and a la carte autonomous capabilities that fit well with a fleet with a larger number of small surface combatants. The Littoral Combat Ship, the LCS, was meant to be small frigate-sized vessels with minimal armament, modest self-defense, and modular mission capabilities. That is, modules that could be swapped for anti-surface, anti-mine, and anti-submarine warfare. Although following a series of troubles, both mechanical and with crews learning to adapt to the switching mission modules, the LCSs will now all receive a standard equipment package permanently installed.
In this part of the webinar, I'm going to discuss radars on frigates around the world. I'm firstly going to cover the market, looking at some of the key programs and suppliers, and I will then briefly discuss the latest trends and drivers in the naval radar market, specifically referring to frigates. This analysis includes only those programs where there is current production and excludes programs where the radars are only in the support phase. The frigate naval radar market has a total size of approximately $4.8 billion over the next 10-year period between 2017 and 2026. However, for this analysis, I'm going to focus on fire control and multifunction radar programs. Multifunction radars, this is the largest segment in the market, peaking at approximately $430 million in 2018. Although there are several peaks and troughs in the trend over the next 10 years, this is caused by some uncertainty over where in the ship build that the radar would actually be delivered. Fire control radars, this is the second largest segment in the market and is dominated by the close-in weapons station radars, e.g. radars for phalanx and goalkeeper. Between the years 2017 and 2026, we can see that there is over $2.5 billion worth of stated and derived opportunities. These are opportunities where the supplier has not yet been selected, and I just want to show you a little bit more detail on what some of those key future opportunities may be.
Okay, just as we start to bring this towards a bit of discussion, here are a number of key takeaways that our analysts have put forward for you as the key points from their briefings. Frigates certainly remain a key segment in many Navy's force structures, and significant investment has been made to develop and build and sustain them. European ships are facing larger, European ships are ever larger and ever fewer, but there's still the discussion about how they will fare from an export point of view. This concludes the seminar for today, but most important thank you goes to you, our listeners and subscribers, for joining us for the event. We are very grateful to have you on board to hear what we have to say. We look forward to welcoming you to future online briefings. The next briefing, which is on the 2nd of February, will look at the possible issues relating to the possible use of chemical weapons in Syria and Iraq. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. Have a good day and goodbye.